All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are peeling back the curtain on one of the most secretive and, honestly, powerful tech companies in the world, Palantir. These guys build software for what they call bad times. And get this, their stated mission is to become the central operating system for the entire U.S. government. Yeah, you heard that right.
So to really get Palantir, you've got to understand the mindset behind it. This quote, it's just so telling. It defines their whole public image, right? Aggressive, unapologetic. It's all about total victory. But what does that actually mean when it comes to the software they're building and the work they do every day? Well, for one thing, it means this: a 340% surge in their stock price just in early 2024. I mean, that's an absolute explosion of interest. It put their valuation right up there with giants like IBM, and suddenly everyone was talking about them in the world of AI and defense. But, to really understand all this hype, we've got to go back to the beginning.
Okay, so let's start with the whole mystique around them. I mean, how does a company named after a dangerous, all-seeing stone from Lord of the Rings become so insanely influential? The name itself is a pretty big hint, right? It's supposed to be a tool for good, but one that could be, well, incredibly dangerous if it falls into the wrong hands.
You see, Palantir was really born from this collision of two major events. First, you had all this cash flooding into Silicon Valley after the PayPal mafia sold their company. And second, you had the post-9/11 war on terror. The idea was, well, it was simple but also pretty profound. What if you could take the same tech used to catch financial criminals online and use it to find terrorists out in the real world?
Okay, so now for the really interesting part. How do they actually solve problems? Let's push aside all the hype for a minute and really look under the hood at the technology itself. Because honestly, this is where their true power is.
So here's the thing. The biggest organizations in the world, we're talking armies, giant corporations, they don't have a lack of data. They are literally drowning in it. The real problem is that all that data is stuck in dozens of different incompatible systems that just can't talk to each other. Palantir's whole reason for being is to connect all those messy, siloed pieces into one single coherent picture.
So the core concept, and this is super important, is something they call the ontology. Now, forget the jargon for a second, okay? Just think of it like a living, breathing Google map for an entire organization. Every pin on this map, whether it's a product, a person, a piece of equipment, or a case file, is connected to everything else. And what this does is create one single source of truth that everyone, and I mean everyone, including the AI, can work from.
And this whole thing is built on their 4 core products, which all work together like a well-oiled machine. You've got Gotham, that's their original mission control room for government and defense. Then there's Foundry, which is basically the operating system for big business. AIP is the AI layer. Think of it like a team of AI agents that work inside both Gotham and Foundry. And finally, there's Apollo. That's the invisible layer in the background that keeps everything secure and updated, no matter where it is, whether that's in the cloud or on a totally disconnected classified battlefield. So how does this actually work when they get a new client? Well, here's how they take them from total data chaos to having a fully operational AI. Step 1, they connect everything to build that digital map, the ontology we just talked about. Step 2, they build custom apps and AI agents right on top of it. But step 3 is the key, making sure that a human being has to approve any and all critical actions. And then finally, they push the whole system out wherever it needs to go.
All right, so let's see what this actually looks like out in the wild. Because what's so wild is that the very same core technology is being used in completely different worlds. We're talking everything from making life or death decisions on the battlefield to managing the supply chain for a burger joint.
So let's start where they started, defense and intelligence. I mean, this is really in their DNA. Their software is all about helping make battlefield decisions faster by pulling together sensor data to find and track targets. They help manage what their CEO pretty bluntly calls the kill chain. But their reach goes way beyond the military, deep into civilian life, and they're handling some incredibly sensitive data. For example, they manage the COVID vaccine distribution for the CDC. They've helped immigration and customs enforcement, that's ICE, plan raids. And right now they're overhauling the entire patient data system for the UK's massive National Health Service, which, as you can imagine, is sparking some huge privacy debates.
And then there's their commercial business, which is built on that Foundry platform we mentioned, and it is absolutely booming. They're using the exact same ontology concept to help Wendy's manage their supply chain or help big banks detect fraud. And get this, they're even analyzing data for professional pickleball. No, I'm not kidding. The applications are just incredibly broad. So when you have that kind of reach, when you're embedded in our most critical institutions, you have to ask, how does the business actually work? And what about all the major controversies and ethical questions that seem to follow them everywhere they go?
Okay, so their business model is pretty smart. It's all about getting a foothold and then making themselves completely essential. They usually start with a small project, something they call a boot camp, just to prove their value. So you might be wondering, how does a customer even know if this is working before they sign some massive multi-year contract? Well, the checklist for success is actually pretty clear. Are they solving a real high-value problem in a matter of weeks, not years? Are the regular, non-technical folks in the company actually using the tools? That's the proof that makes the bigger investment worth it.
You know, the debate around Palantir gets really intense, and it pretty much boils down to this. You have these incredibly powerful capabilities on one side and some really serious ethical questions on the other. So yeah, it's a super robust platform that can deliver value and fast. But the flip side is the huge cost, which creates a massive risk of getting locked in with them as a vendor. And here's something that people often get wrong. Palantir is not for everyone. If all you need to do is visualize some already clean data, this is total overkill. You just use something like Tableau for that. No, Palantir is for situations of extreme, messy data chaos, and that's why it comes with such an extreme price tag.
Now, Palantir's big argument for safety is that their systems are built from the ground up to require human oversight. They call it human in the loop. So their AI agents can propose actions, like, hey, let's reroute this shipment, or we should flag this target. But for the really critical steps, a human operator has to give the final go-ahead. Of course, the question critics always ask is that really enough of a safeguard?
And this leads to a really critical knowledge gap for all of us, right? As these AI agents get more and more autonomous, how can public oversight, our laws, our institutions, possibly keep up with systems that are specifically designed to be opaque and complex?
All right, so finally, let's talk about where this is all going. Because Palantir's ambition, it goes way, way beyond just selling software to a few agencies here and a few companies there. No, they have a much, much bigger goal in mind.
And look, this isn't just me speculating. This is their stated goal, coming directly from their chief technology officer. They want to become the U.S. government's central operating system. Think about that. The foundational software layer for the entire government, connecting everything from the military to the IRS to healthcare.
So what's really changed lately? What's behind that massive stock surge we talked about? It's this huge shift from just analyzing data to what they call operations AI. Their systems aren't just making reports anymore. Now they can actually take real-world actions. They can reroute a supply chain, schedule a maintenance crew, or even tweak parameters on a factory floor. It's become an active player.
And this brings up another huge knowledge gap, another big question we have to ask. Palantir loves to talk about how they're disrupting the old traditional defense industry. But could they just be on track to become a new, more powerful, and maybe even less transparent version of the very thing they wanted to replace?
So, in the end, it really all comes down to this. As this one company aims to wire together the digital plumbing of our most critical institutions, we have to decide what trade-offs we're willing to make for that power and efficiency. Because when a single company's code starts to look like an operating system for society itself, we have to ask, is that code progress or is it peril?